We were talking about this last week or the week before. The real cool invention. A couple of Ottawa guys have been working on this, and now it's available to people. It's called the Shockbox. It's a well, I'll get Danny to describe. Danny Crossman's here. How are you, my friend? Congratulations, by the way, on the product so far. And we were talking about your appearance on the Dragon's Den and so on, which went rather nicely. Describe this for me, because it's not a concussion indicator,
Nope.
is it?
No, it's basically a helmet sensor. So it's only going to go off when you hit your head. It's not going to go off, spuriously. So if you hit your head and it's above a certain force, you should check your kid out.
Yeah.
Because when you don't, they could be masking a concussion, and that's the whole point of it.
So it's an alert more than anything.
Yeah. It's an alert device. Goes from there 100 meters back to your iPhone, your Android, and everything else.
Right. And it just transmits. It determines a certain amount of impact?
Yeah, basically, if you get hit anywhere on the helmet, it figures out where that is, transmits the data back to a phone, and pops up as an alert on your smartphone, on an app. It says, hey, this guy got hit, start checking it out.
Yeah, it should be checked out.
And you compare 128 of these down to one phone.
Is that right?
Yeah, so a whole league.
Just like that, to one phone.
Down to one phone or a tablet.
We should tell people that it's actually being used right now, right? It's out there already.
Yeah, we've been using it for the past year.
Yeah. Who's using it right now?
So we got, on hockey, we've got everywhere from like Adam players all the way up. We had the Ottawa 67s here in town using them last year.
Yeah.
Carleton University using them. We've got 4 on an NHL team.
If they ever play,
if they ever play, we can do some hockey. We got an NFL player wearing them as well.
Right.
And a bunch of kids in NFL teams as well.
Right. Now this is testing of the product, right?
Yeah, it's tested on a drop tower, which is like an artificial head.
Yeah.
And when that drops, it's got an accelerometer inside of it. And that basically shows you how hard the hit would have been to the human brain.
Right.
And then we match that with what the helmet sensor sees, and that pops up as a code on the phone.
This is derived from technology you've been developing and working with for a long time, right?
That's right, yeah. I mean, my background in Army bomb disposal, we wanted to know how things reacted when you blew them up.
Right.
So we used to put sensors on missiles and all sorts of other things. And I figured, why can't you put sensors on a human head?
Yeah.
So we did that with an Ottawa company here that makes the bomb suits about 5 years ago. We developed sensors for soldiers in Iraq and Afghanistan.
Yeah.
So that's 5 years ago. And then 3 months before Sidney Crosby hit his head, myself and Scott Clark, my business partner, thought, well, why can't we do this for hockey, and football and everything else? So we did. We set it up the day after Scott Clark's son hit his head on the boards.
No kidding.
Yeah, and Scott sent him right back in. He's the coach.
Oh, really?
And he had a concussion, but we didn't know.
We didn't know. And that's the thing. The funny thing about concussions is, and there's so many variables, it's different for everybody, right?
It is.
So
It is.
having one sensor to alert you as to check that individual because they have been hit hard is worth having, because maybe there's nothing wrong.
Maybe there is nothing. I mean, everybody's brain is different. But when they've looked at the research, there's a range between about 70 G and 100, 110 G, where virtually all the concussions occur. Sure, you could get some down at the bottom or a bit higher, but this is where the mass are going to occur. And so basically, you have a high percentage of getting a concussion if it triggers in the brain.
And one of the biggest issues when it comes to concussions is, in fact, Sidney Crosby's case, where he was hit once.
That's right.
Went the next day, next game, 2 days later, played again, and then didn't get hit as hard, but got hit.
Yeah.
And that's when he went down in a heap, and it was realized that he had a severe concussion.
Yeah, it's no different from any other limb of the body. If you have a hamstring injury and you keep running on it, eventually it's only going to take a small amount to make it blow. And it's the same with the brain. If you keep playing with a brain injury, because that's what it is, eventually it'll go.
What's been the reaction to people who've been using it? And especially I want to know, like in minor hockey levels, from the young kids and their parents and their coaches, what's been going on?
It's good on a coach and trainer level. It's part of their risk and safety protocol, because then they've got something that they can say, hey, you guys had hits. They have to document this stuff anyway. They have to send it up to the associations, how many concussions, how many other injuries. It's part of that injury reporting protocol.
Right.
From a parent standpoint, and clinically it's proven that parents are the best people to know when their kid's out of sorts, when they've had an injury. And so this is that secondary piece of information that the parents have said, great, I love it. When this little guy gets hit and hurt, I know. And he says I'm okay because he doesn't know any better. This is, well, your helmet sensor went off. you look a little bit out of it,
Yeah.
I'm at least going to take you to the doctor.
Yeah, because a lot of times players, no matter what level, what age they are, will say, hey, I'm fine, put me back in.
I did. The only time I didn't was when I was unconscious.
Yeah, yeah,
Didn't have a choice.
exactly. Yeah, and you want to get back in. I mean, that's what you're there. You're there to play the game, whatever that game might be.
That's right, yeah.
And whatever age you are, it doesn't seem to really matter. You want in.
Yeah.
But there's got to be something and somebody to say, wait a second.
Exactly, and we're never going to take the hits out of hockey or football or lacrosse. It's part of the game,
Yeah.
and it's part of the excitement of the game, especially with kids.
Yeah.
But there's a limit, and so what we aim to do is be able to stop before it gets too damaging to the individual, and then you can come back in.
Do you see a day when something like this might be mandatory for young hockey players in this country, for example?
Yeah, I think eventually it won't just be us. There's a bunch of other companies doing things like this. It'll be the same as mouth guards, neck guards, things like that.
Neck guards is a good example.
That's the easiest one, I mean.
Yeah. Now, in regard to your appearance on said program, The Dragon's Den, that was some time ago, by the way.
April, yeah.
Yeah, and since then, you've managed to drum up your own investors and really get things rolling, right?
Yeah, we have. We've got a great bunch of Ottawa financial and tech investors, some of the best in town. So we've raised probably close to $1 million this year.
Right.
The deal with Jim Treliving never actually turned out. I mean, 7 months later, you go through a lot of due diligence, things change.
Right.
He may come back in later. But I mean, the deal on the show, I think 90% of deals don't actually get through due diligence.
No,
stuff
it's interesting to watch. But in the meantime, you're up and running, and people can. Do you have a website where people can find out more?
Yeah, it's called theshockbox.com.
Yeah.
So we sell online. We also sell in stores. You can get it here in Ottawa. Play it against Ottawa in Canada.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
You can actually go in a store and buy it.
Go to see Dave Jensen in his store, and he's got it right there. In other areas of the town, you can buy it online as well.
Yeah.
We'll be putting it in other Play It Again stores in Ottawa too.
Just for people to know, how much does it cost?
It's $149. Teams, they do team discounts, things like that as well.
Yeah, yeah.
And
but to have that?
Yeah,
man,
it's
man.
and it's an app. There's an app for that.
Oh, is that right?
There is, yeah, it's a free app.
Oh, very cool. Danny Crossman is with Impakt Protective. Find out more on the website, but I tell you what, it's a huge step forward in discovering concussions, if in fact it does anything at all. At least sends out an alert to people that our young people have got to be checked when it comes to head injuries.